is a true pleasure to be on the call tonight. You know, probably 15, 16 years ago, didn't have hope of even being alive able to talk. But for what Relive has done for me, it's absolutely amazing. Hi, everybody. My name is Jean Coelho, live in South Central Wisconsin, and I began taking these products almost 13 years ago, and I'm so grateful that my sister and brother-in-law introduced me to this, and I'm also glad that I learned about the opportunity to earn a little bit of extra income, because that's my fun money these days. It's absolutely incredible. But you guys, I'm a type 1 insulin-dependent diabetic. I've been on insulin over 30 years, about 31 years in a week and a half, and everything that was going wrong with me just a few years, or with going wrong with me that could, because of the diabetes. You guys, my blood sugars were out of control, even though I was trying to do the right things. Not like I was sitting at home eating Twinkies and Snickers, even though I wanted to, but I was really trying to do the right things. But my blood sugars was like riding a roller coaster. I was putting eye drops in my eyes for glaucoma. I was getting a cortisone shot in my elbow for tennis elbow every 3 months. I literally, you guys, I was in so much pain I couldn't get a paper styrofoam cup out of the upper cabinet in my kitchen. That's how much pain I was in with my elbow. And if you know anything about cortisone, you know that it's really not good for people with diabetes. It spikes our blood sugars dangerously high. But I was in so much pain I was willing to take that risk. One of the other things that was going on with me, Bill, and I know that you've heard this before, is my kidney function. It was really down in the toilet, you guys. It was below 40%. And the doctor said when I got down to 20%, we'd be talking dialysis. You guys, I was in my early 40s at that time, and that wasn't an awful lot of hope for me either. But I'll tell you, when I was introduced to these products, started getting this good nutrition into my body, things started happening. First of all, I was feeling a little better, had a little bit more energy, but I was sleeping better, so of course I was going to have more energy. Never really thought that it had anything to do with Relive. But I continued to take these shakes, and I'll tell you what, in 3 months I was able to get off of some depression medication that I'd been on for over 11 years. Continued to get these products into my body, and my blood sugar started to straighten out a little bit, not such highs and lows, It became more foothills instead of high peaks kind of thing. One of the best things, though, is my kidney function started to go up. That was absolutely astounding to me. And now, after being on these products for 13 years, you guys, my blood sugars are better than they've ever been. No more eye drops in my eyes for glaucoma. No more cortisone shot in my elbow for tennis elbow. Something as simple as motion sickness. I used to get motion sick driving the car. I was the driver, and I would still get sick. But now I can sit in the back seat with my 25-year-old son, drive and read a book. That's absolutely incredible to me. Never happened until I was on Relive. But I'll tell you what, you guys, one of the other biggest things is my kidney function. It is now above 95%, and it's been above 90% for the last 10 years. Absolutely astounding. All of that said, I've been able to cut my insulin back 55%. Just means my body is processing food better without needing as much insulin. I attribute all of this to the good nutrition that I put in my bodies. Relive is a miracle, but like Bill said, it's not a drug. We don't treat, diagnose, or cure anything. It's just plain and simple nutrition. And once we get that good nutrition in our bodies know what to do with it. So I'm functioning at the highest level that I can today. And because I took my shakes today, I'm going to function at a higher level tomorrow, and the same after that, and on and on. So that's it, Bill. That's, the Reader's Digest version of what's going on with me.
Wow. Well, those are powerful results. I know that Tom and your son had some major results as well. Why don't you just mention that?
Oh, Bill, I could talk about those two guys all day long. My husband started on the product same time I did 13 years ago because he was suffering with arthritis. He had degenerative arthritis. Actually had to give up his career as a diesel mechanic because he couldn't hang on to the tools anymore. He was in such pain and his hands were so swollen. He would get up in the morning literally and he'd look at me and he'd say, Jean, just cut off my hands and call me stubby. I'd rather not have this pain. That's how miserable he was. But he started taking these products same time I did, and in 3 months he was able to get off the prescription medication that the doctors had him on for that arthritis. Now, he wasn't completely pain-free, but that prescription pill never made him pain-free either. It took about another 12, 14, 16 months once he added our product called Artifact, which is, specifically designed for people with arthritis. And I'll tell you what, Bill, he doesn't have any signs or symptoms of arthritis anymore. Can't forecast the weather, cannot tell me that there's a storm coming in 3 or 4 days out like he used to be able to, and I'm so grateful for that. And also our son, he was 13 years old at the time when we started Relive these 13 years ago. He's going to have his 26th birthday in October. My baby's growing up. But he was diagnosed with ADHD, that hyperactivity disorder that all the kids have these days. And at age of 4, we had him on medication for that. Even with that medication, he still couldn't function in the classroom. I ended up homeschooling him from 2nd grade all the way through graduation. So I know how that little mind works in him. But we started taking these products. Like I said, he was 13 years old, and in 3 months, Bill, we got him off of that ADHD medication.
Wow.
Talk about a life-changing event in our household. Absolutely incredible. I'm so thankful what these products have done for him. I mean, he continued to grow and mature. We were in Boy Scouts. He earned his Eagle rank in Boy Scouts, the highest rank you can be. He's been on high adventure trips. He took a canoe trip up at the Boundary Waters, the border of Minnesota and Canada, and went for a canoe trip for a week. He rode the train from Chicago out to New Mexico for mountain climbing and backpacking adventure for a couple of weeks with Boy Scouts. And I'll tell you, Bill, they had to weigh their backpacks because they were hiking and they were carrying them up and down these mountains out in New Mexico. And he chose to leave a T-shirt at home, do his laundry more often so he could take his little baggie of Relive. That's dedication. And I'm just so grateful that he's still almost 26, still taking these shakes every single day. I'm so proud of him.
That's great. Jean, wow, just a broad array there of blessings have come your way through this product. Thank you so much. Oh, one more thing. It seems to me, I remember in your story that you had some issues with some headaches or migraines.
Oh, my goodness, absolutely. And so did Tom. I mean, Tom would actually be in bed. He was light-sensitive migraines. Like where you can't even walk past him. He could feel the air moving around his head. That's how stricken he was. And he would get one, probably once a month, once every 6 weeks. Hasn't had one since. And that's one of those results that we kind of forgot about. Same with his periodontal disease. He used to have bleeding gums. We just kind of forgot about it when it didn't happen anymore. So I'm so glad that you reminded me of that, because we do. We're just feeling so good we forget how bad we were before.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jean. Appreciate you joining us and sharing. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Bill.
Thanks. All right. Well, next we're going to head up the road here in Florida to Melbourne. Patty and I have come to know and love Lisa Hodgins. We've had the blessing of watching her through the years and see the transformation in her life, and it's been a powerful one. Lisa, we'd love you to come on and share.
I'm always happy to share. Bill, thank you for asking me. I'm so thankful, as you know. When I was introduced to Relive 13 years ago, and at the time I had been 3 years into a diagnosis of 3 autoimmune. I was dealing with Raynaud's phenomenon, where I was losing circulation in my hands, and over time, if that continues, I can get gangrene in my fingers. I had Sjogren's disease. I was having trouble swallowing and blinking. It's like an internal dryness. But the worst one was progressive systemic sclerosis, or scleroderma, and that's where scar tissue attacks your organ and your skins, and it has a very high mortality rate. The doctors said there was only a 25% chance I'd even live for 10 years. Wasn't very good odds there. But thankfully, it was a friend from church who shared Relive, because at the time I was in so much pain. I had really horrible fatigue. It was very difficult to do simple tasks. I was just constantly exhausted. My joints were inflamed and very painful. I was having swallowing problems and just a lot of stomach problems, irritable bowel, all these things going on. But my worst thing, I think, was I started hitting my legs. I was having trouble walking and standing. And it got to a point I had to quit my job, and it was very difficult. My husband had been laid off the year before, and he's just starting a new business, so we basically lost 2 incomes. Plus, I'm sick. It was just a really horrible, difficult time for us. And I had started having trouble, crawling up the stairs, and just every task was becoming more and more difficult. But thankfully, it was a friend from church who shared Relive with us, and just hearing the stories like people are going to be hearing tonight, it just gave me some hope. And I thought, if I just got some energy, maybe I would feel a little bit better. So I got started on the product, and probably around 3 weeks, I just felt almost worse. And I go, what's going on? I just don't feel, what else can I do to speed this up? I feel terrible. She's like, well, you need more product than the average person. So I was taking more. I followed the directions, what they said, very religiously. And by about 6 weeks, I noticed I was having a little bit more energy. And around 3 months, I noticed when I rolled over, the hip pain and shoulder pain was easing up. By 4 months, the swallowing and blinking, I had trouble blinking, and that dry Sjogren's, that was improving. By 6 months, I saw my leg pain start to improve. And over that first year, be getting a little better each time. My flare-ups became less frequent. They began being less in duration, and then less pain was easing up. And I just kept being very faithful, doing what, the people shared with me, following exactly what they told me. And by the end of my second into my third year, going to the doctors, they said I was clinically in remission. I've been in remission now, I think it's like nine years. And it's just amazing to have that quality of life back, to have energy, to get up early, and I don't have to go to bed till late. I'm going all the time. I'm able to enjoy my grandbabies. It like chokes me up because I don't know where I'd be without Relive. It just has given me hope that I never had, hope that I be with my family. There was a point that I'd written goodbye letters to my family because I didn't think I was going to make it. And I'm just thankful God was good and brought Relive into our life.
Wow. Yeah, the doctors weren't giving you much of a chance of a very good prognosis.
No. And I'm medication-free with all of that. So
you're medication-free.
Yeah, which is
and now you can play with the grandkids. It seems to me you even got back to playing golf at one point.
Yeah, we're playing golf. Yeah, in fact, we're going tomorrow. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. To think where you were, crawling upstairs in a lot of pain. I mean, it's just a phenomenal turnaround in your life. We're very grateful for what's happened to you and for you sharing. Now, Jim has had some results as well. What's happened to Jim?
He did. He was within the first month, he noticed all his acid reflux symptoms had went away, and he had a cataract surgery years before, and it came back, and he was going to need the surgery. But about 6 months or so out on the products, he was out doing the lawn, he got something caught in his good eye. And I remember him coming in the house. He's like, guess what? I'm looking at my bad eye, and my cataract completely cleared up. Somewhere along the way, that cataract just went away, and he never had to go get that other cataract surgery. So that was pretty unique, because you didn't realize it was even happening,
Right.
So it's pretty awesome.
And he had a smoking issue.
Yeah, it helped him. He felt it helped him in quitting smoking, the cigarettes. It just helped with the cravings or whatever. He was able to quit smoking after many, many years. So that's been a real blessing for our family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A lot, and we've had the joy of watching you, and we just share your joy that you got your life back, your family back. You can do things again with everybody, and Patty and I share 22 grandkids, so we're pretty excited about people being able to play with their grandkids.
22, wow. That's awesome.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much. Appreciate you sharing with us tonight.
Okay,
Thanks.
My pleasure. Take care.
Yes. Well, now we're heading over to Montana. Patty and I have gotten to know Leonard Falk and his wife, and wow, what a testimony has happened. So many things, Leonard. We could give you a half hour tonight. There's so many things that have happened in your family, but let's see what we can do. Leonard, we'd love you to share.
It's probably going to take that with all these calls. I'm sitting here, wiping the tears out, remembering where we were.
Yeah.
It was, when Rita came into our life, it was a very bad spot, as you know. Everyone, my name is Leonard Falk. My wife Ruth and our son William has absolutely been blessed with Relive. Sorry, we were in a bad spot. We just were feeling like we were backed into the corner and didn't have any hope. My wife, for the previous 5 years before Relive, had spent every waking minute in bed, and she wasn't functioning at all. Our son was just a young lad who was, he spent his time in the bedroom beside the bed because that's where Mom was, and I'd go off to work and come home and she'd be crying, and I'd have to cook dinner, and life wasn't good. But what had happened is Ruth and I had been in a rear-end collision. She had been paralyzed in the vehicle. And a couple hours later, she was able to walk, but she had pain and numbness down the right-hand side of her body. And her head was tilted to the side. And we met with a surgeon that showed us that she had 3 bulging discs in her neck, putting pressure on her spinal cord. He says you're not debilitated enough, though, to warrant the very tricky surgery of stretching out the neck and cleaning out those discs on the inside. He sent her home with some pills that she was allergic to, and that started our quest. In the next 5 years, because of friends, we were introduced to one of the founders of Bastyr College in Seattle, Naturopathic College, and he had a great reputation in the twilight of his career for knowing new nutrition, and we were doing that for the better part of those 5 years. In that time frame, we saw well over 100 different health professionals of every different kind of stripe. That was our life. Every couple of weeks, we would drive 150 miles one way to Seattle when we were living in central Washington at the time. And Ruth got diagnoses of fibromyalgia, TMJ, and we knew from x-rays before the collision that she had arthritis all the way up and down her spinal column. Every vertebrae had an arthritic spur, at least one or more. And 5 years, just nothing changed. It was, she got started on Relive, and in 3 days we saw some changes. In about 3 weeks' time, I came home and I found my wife in the kitchen working.
Wow.
Over the course, it was about a year and a half, not quite a year and a half, she ended up with being pain-free and got her life back. It was just absolutely amazing. We went to a conference in a camper that we had worked on together with our son in the garage. So it was just, life was completely changed. But she had great results with varicose veins cleared up, cystic acne cleared up, fibroids cleared up. I tell everybody I got a younger woman out of the whole deal, because she truly today looks younger today than she did when we just came into our life. My background is construction, and I just have been in it for all my life since I was 10 years old, and I was dealing with joint pain, my ankles, knees, and lower back. I wasn't sleeping good at night. Almost every night of the week I'd wake up with leg cramps in one or both legs, and they'd go from my hips clear to my toes, and no matter what I did to change my diet, nothing helped. I had very severe acid reflux, and the stuff I was taking for acid reflux was causing me kidney stones. And then life got worse. I fell over 8 feet. It was close to 11 feet. I landed on my back. Thankfully, didn't break anything. But the soft tissue damage left me feeling like my arms weren't attached to my body properly. I couldn't raise them above my head. I couldn't sit comfortably. For the next year and a half, I didn't sleep in my own bed. I gave up my contractor's license because I couldn't work. And I saw what happened for Ruth, and got started on the products myself, and almost immediately I started sleeping through the night, something I hadn't done for well over 15 years. Because of the fall, I've been getting migraines multiples in a week, and I've never had a full-blown migraine since I've been on the products. And over the course of time, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Seattle with family, and after the 6th cup, I realized that I didn't have any signs of that acid reflux, and normally it would only take a half a cup, and it'd be curtains. So I'm now 62 years old. I work out 3 and 4 days a week. I have a quality of life that I had no hope of having before Relive, and I've been blessed. Our son William, when he was 3 weeks old, he had his first ear infection. In the first 6 years of his life, it was one ear infection after another. We were constantly at the doctor's office with getting another antibiotic. He was about a year old when we were rear-ended, and thankfully he wasn't with us, but he was dealing with a lot of other issues. It just was kind of scary for us. He was going into these violent rages. where he was slamming his head on the floor and hitting the wall and doing all kinds of different things. And we got him started on the Relive, and 4 months on the products, we realized that the eczema he'd had all of his life up until that point, all over his arms and legs, was gone, and dark circles around his eyes disappeared, which we were told were relative to allergies. At age of 4, we'd had him tested for allergies, and the 40, I don't remember, it's 40-some different things that they tested him for. He was allergic to all of them, food and environmental. He couldn't play outside because of his pets. He couldn't, or because of his allergies. He couldn't have pets because of his allergies. That first summer, he was able to go to the pool and be a little boy for the first time in his life, and learned how to swim, and life was changing. He went from a doctor's, well, with Ruth and William, we multiple times a month for all that time frame, and now we don't go to the doctor at all anymore, other than for checkup or something, eye doctor maybe. But William was also very severely ADD. We got kicked out of a couple of different preschools because William couldn't sit still and focus for nothing. He just, he remembers it later on, and today he says, I knew I needed to, but I just couldn't. Because of his taste issues, he started off on the adult products, and then we knew from the stories we needed to get the kids now into him, and in 30 days we saw major changes with his ADD. In 90 days we had him in front of other clinical people because of his other diagnoses of apraxia and dyspraxia, and they basically told us that there's no way this child ever had ADD. And even the doctor that had diagnosed him didn't recognize him on the street one day when Ruth and William were walking down the street, because he made the comment. He said, I see you left William at home. And he said, well, that is William. And here was this young man walking peacefully and calmly next to his mom, and that wasn't something he was capable of doing.
Wow.
And it just, with his other two diagnoses, he had a real struggle with learning the alphabet and reading. In the program we introduced him to, they were testing every all the time. More than once a week, and he was struggling. He would have like 3 or 4 letters of the alphabet. He'd get about 95% of the time. We need to get up to 19 or 20, and he'd fall back to the 3 or 4 again. And Christmas time, I sat down with him. I said, William, we've been paying you $25 for so many pages of homework. Now we're going to start charging you $25 for every time we find a shape that's not finished. And the financial remuneration got his attention. He got very consistent with his shakes, and in the middle of February, I was sitting in my office, and I got a call from his teacher. She was in tears with me on the phone. She says, William just read through his very first book without any stops, and he retained at 94%. He actually scored a 94% on his test, and he had never scored anything on the test. And the only thing he'd done was just consistently putting this Relive into his body. And what a blessing, Bill. I mean, it just, there's so many things that, as the first gal was talking, Ruth had high eye pressure. Her eye pressure was up running around 23, 24. The doctor said it was typically, glaucoma, but she didn't have the damage to go along with it. Her mom had glaucoma and was doing the drops, and Ruth's eye pressure went down. It runs down around, it's a normal pressure of like 11 and 12 the last time we tested it. So it's just,
my goodness.
Absolutely,
wow.
Bill, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I can see how how stirring that has to be for you when you flash back to the before picture. What would it be like today?
Oh, absolutely. I was thankful that
hadn't come into it.
Absolutely. I was thankful for the call in between. The first gal, there were so many parallels, and I was just out. It had me to tears just remembering where we were. And what a blessing we get to pass on to other people too, Bill. It's just what a blessing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing from your heart.
My pleasure.
For you and your family. Thank you.
At the time, I was crying out to God for relief and rescue. I had been diagnosed with 3 different autoimmune problems, and I was crawling up the stairs and in bed most of the time in severe pain and depression. Lost my sister to suicide due to the pain and depression of fibromyalgia and bipolar, and I was dealing with those things as well, plus a weak muscle disease called myasthenia gravis, and very severe systemic candida in my heart and in my lungs. And the doctor told me, this is deadly. It becomes like AIDS and cancer when it's in your bloodstream like this and in your organs, and this can take your life. And no solution from any of the specialists. I went to a lot of them, spent over $50,000 worth. Nothing the doctors or naturopaths had gotten me on made any difference at all. And I was pretty hopeless and in, over $50,000 in debt. But hearing the stories of Relive gave me hope, and it was the money-back guarantee where I thought, I'm going to try one more thing. And I was absolutely astounded. Now, I did start taking it pretty aggressively, 4 times a day, and very quickly I started sleeping again. I had better brain cognition. I had suffered from ADD all my childhood, all my adulthood, always felt stupid, less than other people, was ridiculed, laughed at, criticized for a very bad brain. And for the first time in my life, I said, oh, Lord God, you did not give me a stupid brain. It just was never plugged in. It was never nourished. And so to have a normal brain just has meant the world to me. And to get relief from depression, all of a sudden one day it was though someone flipped the switch in a very dark room and light just flooded into my soul. And I no longer had the depression, the anxiety, the panic attacks, the mood swings, the bipolar rages. Just my life became so even and balanced and joyful. And then seeing the pain also diminish and then be gone. I asked this gentleman that was answering all my questions, what is in this that my husband doesn't have snoring or sleep apnea anymore? His migraines are gone, his back issues where he would, every couple of months, he would, his back would spasm. It was always in pain, horrific pain. He was always on meds for it, but then it would spasm and lock and he'd be in a fetal position for several days. Hasn't had that in 20 years that we've been on it. And so, I just, and I said, and our kids have not had any ADD or ADHD issues. They're doing better in sports, better in school. The kids with asthma, no more asthma, allergies, not an issue. What is in this stuff? And he said, it's not so much like it's some kind of snake oil or magic powder. I know it sounds too good to be true, but he said, it's just your body. That's the miracle. You give it the right tools and your body can do amazing, amazing things. Whatever your body is capable of. And so that made sense. It demystified the whole thing. And when people started asking me why I was looking so much better, Norma, you've lost weight. I want to too. You look younger. I want to look younger. You have energy I've never seen before. So I just introduced those people to my mentor. And he said to me some pretty key things right from the beginning. He said, Norma, you might want to be a master affiliate because that is the position where you will be able to help the most number of people because it's a good-sized order initially. And he said, it will also open the doorway to wealth. I didn't understand what he meant, but what he was talking about was residual income, I found out. And actually in 60 days, I'd made over $6,000. That helped to save our home. We were on the verge of bankruptcy, losing our home. It's a very, very dark time. I almost lost my marriage. I'd put all my $50,000 worth of treatments secretly on credit cards, and because I know my husband wouldn't have allowed me to go see all those specialists, but I was so desperate. I didn't want to go my sister's route of suicide because I was close. And so this was just such an answer to prayer. And, what happened was it continued to grow because I had the mentorship and the help. And, our income rose up to $8,000 a month. It took a few years, but, at even the point where I replaced my income, I quit my teaching career. That allowed me to put in more time to reach the $8,000 a month income. Our income has been as high as $17,000, but in a month, and which is amazing. That's like CEO income. But what that six-figure income did was it allowed my husband to actually walk away from his corporate banking job and come home, be a real dad, become friends with the kids instead of being this stressed out corporate guy who hated his job. He became the happiest dad in, San Francisco, and was able to start doing his dreams, his music. And so for 15 years now, we've been pursuing our dreams, him with music and me with ministry. I went back to school and became a minister, and now I teach and pastor and actually direct a ministry school, and do life coaching and inner healing prayer work. I mean, I'm really thrilled at the doors Relive has opened. And that's what my mentor said to me. He said, Norma, doesn't matter what anyone does in life. He said, with Relive, we have something better than anyone could ever do. And this journey with Relive is a vehicle to any dream you might want. And, he was so right because of the income and the time freedom. We've been able to pursue and get our dreams, and we have a lot more. But the thing that I think just touches my heart the most deeply is the fact that our children are not slaves to corporate America. They're all pursuing their dreams. They're all just doing incredible things that I don't think they would be in that place if they didn't have two parents who were also pursuing their dreams. So, Bill, I'm just so grateful for Relive. And lastly, for 20 years, we didn't go see doctors. We didn't need to, just like the other gentleman that was talking, just didn't get sick. We stopped taking our kids to the pediatrician. I mean, we just didn't need doctors. And so this last, just a number of months ago, I said to my husband, we're 65 now. We should probably go get our levels tested. And the doctor was absolutely shocked. What are you doing? No doctors for 20 years, no drugs. You're not on any drugs. What are you doing? And I shared what I do. And she said, well, just keep doing what you're doing because it is working. This is amazing. I've never seen this with anybody ever. So, yeah, we're grateful. Totally grateful.
Excuse me. Absolutely. Wow. Powerful. I mean, you had some pretty scary things you were dealing with, and your life's been turned around. Your whole family's been affected. Mm-hmm. The business side of things. Now you've built a serious income, and it's really all about helping people. But if someone said, well, I'd like to build an income helping people, how do they do that?
Well, pretty much like what I did. I mean, I tell people, Master Affiliate is the best place to start because you make the most income for your time. If I hadn't started at Master Affiliate, I probably wouldn't have made any income, and I probably would not have continued doing it as a business. That was key. But also my mentor said to introduce him to 5 new people a day, and that I would eventually reach 6 figures. And he was absolutely right. Now, did I do 5 people every day? No. Some days I can close, some days 1 or 2, some days not at all, because I was, raising 6 children and busy with teaching. And then, I did the best I could. I did it in the cracks between everything else. But just being really consistent, doing something every day, introducing everybody to my mentor. That's what really brought me to where I've gotten to. And also using the Relive system has been very, 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 very key. And then just meeting some good people who wanted something else, something better in life, wanted a better life. And, that's also key, finding good people that want a better life and are willing to work. And I was willing to work, and it's always a pleasure to find someone who really has develops a passion for Relive like I have. Dreams come true with Relive. It is what it is. It's wonderful.
It is. It's a win-win. What a joy to be involved in helping other people, whether it's from the health side, and we heard some powerful stories tonight. I can't imagine each of the people who sponsored the ones who were on this call tonight, how heartwarming it is to be a part of seeing that process of all these things turning for all these families. It's the checks of the heart and Relive are huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it turns around, it isn't just the checks of the heart, but then there's actually real checks that can grow into a very serious business as we are consistent and faithful with it. Well, Norma, thank you so much. So appreciate you joining us and